Hey, so welcome back to another video on my channel. This is a YouTube video, not a podcast, and this is because this is an emergency upload. I am interrupting my flow. I have multiple emergency uploads to do this week, so I'm so sorry about the flow interruptions and everything, but I talked about this on my TikTok a little bit already. Also, I'm so sorry, I forgot my USB-C to USB connector, so I cannot use my microphone that has filters on it. So I'm using my Raycons. I'm so sorry. But anyway, I talked about this on my TikTok a little bit, but I really wanted to make this video because I have been watching Nick and Ryan since they started their YouTube channel. So for a year now. And sometimes I'll go back and I'll rewatch some of their videos. And recently they went to the Driscoll Hotel, and that was their collab with Mr. Beast and Wartime Stories. And in the video they were saying, we are being followed, we need to contact a medium. And although I myself am not a professional medium, I do not get clients that come to me, I do not get paid for any of this work. I am still a medium. I still have medium tendencies. I have in the past called the police for an unsolved case or unsolved cases to kind of give them what I think happened, because I do get dreams. I have a strong intuition. And so because of this, I wanted to do a quick little upload kind of telling them who I think is haunting them, because also a lot of people in the comments are, I would say, misleading them and telling them that a certain spirit is haunting them when it's actually a completely different spirit. So we're kind of going to go through this. And again, I already kind of talked about this a little bit on my TikTok, but that TikTok didn't get a lot of views. So you probably won't see it. And so I just wanted to kind of reiterate here who I think is haunting them. So first things first, I have to address the fact that so many people think that Toby is the one that's haunting them. And I can see why you would think that, because Toby first appeared in their Inside the Most Haunted House in Texas, Hill House. So it was their Hill House investigation. And ever since then, they've been kind of followed. However, I have a completely different theory. I think no one got followed until the Iron Island Museum. And again, I talked about this on my TikTok, but I never ever thought that Toby was ever really much of a threat. And disclaimer, these next few statements are going to be my opinion and my opinion alone, allegedly. But I personally believe that the Hill House is not as haunted as the owners make it to be. And I think that the majority of the spirits that are there, the majority of the spirits that legitimately are there because they were invited to the house. And I think that Toby is not a demonic entity like the owners say. And again, I talked about this on my TikTok, but I just want to reiterate that usually when ghost hunters go to a location with a demonic entity, as a medium, you can feel that energy coming through the screen. You can feel that kind of anger, that kind of want and need to get out there and haunt as many people as possible. That is why I always advise against ghost hunters going to locations with demonic entities and filming it and then uploading it onto YouTube, because that demonic entity wants so badly to get out there and spread out there. And the more power that you give a demonic entity, the more powerful they become, right? This is why I am always kind of wary whenever I watch videos that say we ghost hunted in a location with a demonic entity, right? And there's only a few YouTubers slash ghost hunters that I've been able to watch where they go to demonic or locations with demonic entities, and I'm able to fully watch that video and not feel uncomfortable. But other YouTubers, such as Nick and Ryan, whenever they go to a location with a demonic entity, like an actual location with an actual demonic entity, I can feel that energy. And the ghost in my house, because I have several ghosts in my house, they're mostly pretty chill. They don't really do anything, except for when I watch Nick and Ryan videos where they go to locations with actual demonic entities. And again, this is no hate to the owners of the Hill House, but I do not believe that Toby was ever as much of a threat as they made him out to be. For example, when I watched this Hill House video that they made, I did not feel anything except being skeptical. I think there's a couple of spirits that I do feel like are real, that I do feel like are there. One of these is Priscilla and her son, and this is because sadness is often more powerful than fear, right? So, and I said this in, or I wrote this note when they went to their overnight in the New York's most haunted, the Shanley Hotel. So it's overnight in New York's most haunted hotel. That's the video, that's the first ever video they uploaded. I said sadness overwhelms Gary, and this is because they were on the third floor trying to contact, I believe it was Adam, but instead they got the woman, right? The woman who killed herself. And this is because sadness does overwhelm Scary, because sadness has a way of penetrating that location where that sadness occurred, right? So I do believe that Priscilla is, at least some part of her soul is still there, still kind of reliving these things that happened to her, horrible, horrific things that happened to her. And so I do believe Priscilla and her son are still there in some capacity. And I also believe Joshua is the only other spirit that is actually there. Every other spirit that the owners claim to be there, I do not believe that they are there. And if they are, I believe that they were invited in. Now, I can't say that they were invited in by the owners because I don't know that, but I do believe that they were invited in to stay in that location. So it could have been anyone. It could have been a guest that stayed over at the Hill House. It could have been another ghost hunter that hunted at that location. It could have been anyone. It could have been the owners, but again, I don't have any proof of that. But I personally, as a medium, feel that the rest of the spirits in that house were invited by outside sources. I do not believe that the other spirits that are not Priscilla, her son, and Joshua are there because they're supposed to be there, if that makes sense. But also, and again, I talked about this on my TikTok that I made, I have a hard time understanding why so many people in the Hill House video, their second video they ever uploaded, why so many people in those comments are saying, this is owner intervention, these EVPs are not real, it sounds like walkie-talkies, it sounds like the owners put some like walkie-talkies all around. And yeah, at 1 hour, 16 minutes, and 47 seconds, there's a power on that sounds exactly like the EVP they captured at 1 hour, 8 minutes, and 18 seconds. And at 1 hour, 8 minutes, and 18 seconds, you can hear the kind of the, walkie talkie sound before the woman actually speaks. And so I kind of find it funny that a lot of the comments under that video are saying this is clearly owner intervention, but then those same people will go on to other videos and they will say it's definitely Toby haunting you. I don't believe Toby is haunting them. I personally believe that they do have some kind of demonic entity attached to them, but I think the demonic entity is kind of being subdued by another one of the spirits that has actually been following them since the very beginning, and that is Edgar from the night we talked to them, or the Iron Island Museum video. Guys, I rewatched their videos to take my notes, right? And if Nick and Ryan want these notes and if they want to, go through them and study them, I am more than happy to send them to you. In fact, I already emailed you asking if you guys had a PO box. So if you want these, I am more than happy to send them out to you in the mail. But I rewatched all of the videos to take these notes and to kind of help them out, right? Because sometimes I will take notes whenever I'm watching like a ghost hunting video just to hone my skills. I don't have any intention to become a like professional medium, but I also don't want to lose my skills. So sometimes I will take notes as I'm watching ghost hunting videos just to test my intuition, test kind of what's going on. I will pause the video, write down what I think is happening, and then sometimes in the video it will kind of be proven. And so that's kind of how I practice. But even before I rewatched the videos, even as I was watching the videos as they came out for the first time ever, I kind of knew already, like, oh, I know who's following them. Like, I know. And coincidentally, the Iron Island Museum is the only location where they did not say, spirits stay with thee and not with me. So for me personally, I believe one of the spirits that is following them has to 100% be Edgar. Like, there's no other way around it for me. I do believe that Edgar is following them. And the reason behind me thinking that Edgar is following them is because there's been a lot of times during their Estes methods where the spirit that's following them apologizes. To me, a demonic entity would not be apologizing, right? And this goes along with kind of what I'm saying is that I think the demonic entity that has attached themselves to Nick and Ryan is being subdued by another spirit. And Edgar is a pretty powerful spirit. I mean, not only was he a Marine, I think is what they said, while he was living, but as a spirit, he has taken on the role of protecting kids, right? And I think the reason why Edgar is following them and the reason why Edgar feels so kind of protective over Nick and Ryan, and the reason why Edgar is subduing this other demonic entity is because he kind of sees Nick as a child. If you remember, at the 10 to 13 minutes mark, they're in the chapel, they're joking. Justin plays Luigi's Mansion on the piano. They're joking around, they're having fun. I believe that Edgar kind of looked at Nick and saw the spirit of the kid that Edgar was protecting in the museum. Does that make sense? And so Edgar kind of saw Nick and saw this like playful manner and this, jovial kind of attitude and attached himself to Nick and is now protecting in some way or another. Also, during okay, this is crazy. During the Estes method, Edgar kind of is saying like, I'm going to free myself from this place. He's kind of saying goodbye. He's saying I'm free. He's saying, oh, during the Estes method, Nick is in the hallway, right? And he has the headphones on and he has the spirit box going, and Ryan is in the other room along with Justin, and they're asking questions. And so at the 32-minute and 6-second mark, Nick says, I'm free. And then he says, in the hall, right? And to me, I interpreted that as him saying, I'm going to free myself by following the man in the hall, right? And he keeps saying, like, please leave me, like, something is broken for me, something, and he just keeps saying his goodbye. And then he says something like family. That to me, I interpreted that as like, now you guys are Edgar's family. Yeah, and the reason why I believe this is because Edgar has this sadness about him. And like I said before, sadness overpowers fear. The sadness that Edgar has is that he laments not being able to have kids, right? And so that's why he's taking care of the little kids at the museum. But then along come three other kids, adult men who act very, kid friendly. I'll say it that way. This is not an insult, by the way. I'm just kind of explaining. And so he kind of sees himself as not only a protector of children, but a protector of Nick, most importantly. He is the spirit that is attached himself to Nick. And you can see this in the Haunted Hinsdale house, overnight at the Haunted Hinsdale house. And at 20 minutes and 51 seconds, Edgar's name is mentioned. And there's also during the Estes method, for example, at the 23 minutes and 23 seconds mark, there's someone who says, go home, right? And and I kind of just interpret all of this as being not only the family kind of walking through their thought process when they saw the Native Americans who had been massacred, they saw the Native Americans on their land, and they're kind of reacting to that during the Estes method. But also during the Estes method, there's a couple of other spirits that do not belong in the house. One of them is Edgar. And at the 24-minute and 59-second mark, Edgar is saying, like, I'm your friend. That's him saying, like, I'm your friend. I want you to be safe. And he also makes a lot of noise because he wants them to move away from the hallway, right? And for a second, they do move away from the hallway, but then they return. And that's when you hear the dinosaur toy noise. And I wrote 36 minutes, 53-second mark. I feel like the dinosaur toy noise is being used to scare you guys. It's like the spirit knows that all three of you were scared by it the night before. And it's just kind of like an attempt to get them out of the house. And so that's why I'm saying, like, I really do think that this is Edgar kind of, and he's put himself into this protective mode. However, there's a couple of other spirits that are following them. And one of the spirits that I wanted to talk about, and I didn't catch this when I rewatched this video, but it's the most horrifying night of our lives, and they're in the Yorktown Hospital. I think whatever was in the basement was a demonic entity, but a weaker demonic entity, right? However, that demonic entity nonetheless attached themselves to Nick and Ryan I think specifically Ryan, because Nick already has kind of his protector, which is Edgar, right? And I think the priest in the Yorktown hospital was the one that started making all the noise upstairs because he was really mad that Ryan had kind of intimidated him. But the entity in the basement, I think, is the one that they should be scared of. I think that's the spirit, and I don't want to give this demonic entity a name because again, if you give them a name, you give them power, and if you give them power, you give them more power. If you give them power, you give them the ability to be stronger. But anyway, something interesting happens at the Queen Mary, and it's our night on the world's most haunted ship. And this is during the S method, where it's kind of two spirits fighting. And at first, when I first watched it, I thought, oh, this is the spirit that's following them and the spirit at the B340 room. However, now I think this is a mix of Edgar kind of in the background, the demonic entity that's following them, and the demonic entity in B340. Because there's kind of like some competition happening, but there's also this sense of like the demonic entities toying with them. But one of the demonic entities is a little bit more serious than the other. They're both toying with Nick and Ryan, but one of them is more serious than the other. One of them is more like, no, I'm actually going to haunt you. I'm actually going to hurt you. And the other one is more playful, like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna haunt you, ha ha ha, right? It's kind of playing pranks on them, and that's so weird to me. And then, okay, at the 49-minute and 56-second mark, I wrote, there's a sense of familiarity there. The spirit knows you and your methods and decided to disrespect you by not speaking into the spirit box. And this is when they capture an EVP outside of the spirit box, right? So the spirits are being told, like, you have to speak through the spirit box, you have to speak through my friend, and I will ask you questions and I will answer you, but you have to speak through my friend. However, this spirit or entity decided to give them an EVP outside. And that's kind of what I mean by there's two different energies. One is using the spirit box like they should be using it, and the other is doing EVPs outside. And this happens throughout the entire Estes method, where, for example, at 1 hour, 3 minutes, and 24 seconds, they said, show yourself to me. And then footsteps were heard. And then the spirit box, whoever was doing the spirit box, said, I'm next to you. Okay, and then, dude, this is all so crazy. I'm so sorry. I have so many notes. So at 1 hour, 7 minutes, 38 seconds, one of the spirits is like, seriously, right? And they interpret it as them saying, like, be serious. But I actually interpreted that as the entity saying, seriously, you're asking me that question again? Like, I've already answered. You know what I mean? And so that's what I mean when I say one of the entities feels a whole lot more serious. Feels like they're saying a lot more like, follow the rules. I'm in charge here. You need to follow the rules. While the other spirit is toying with them. It's making the footstep noises, it's making the EVPs outside, they're disrespecting the way that Nick and Ryan do the Estes methods. Okay, and then at 1 hour, 12 minutes, and 3 seconds, Edgar shows himself again. And I wrote, it's the guy from Iron Island. He took a liking to Nick. He's acting like a sort of guardian to Nick. WTF. And then, this is another interesting thing. During their stay at Iron Island, Edgar asked, do you believe? And then started making things go off to make them a believer. And I wrote this in my notes. And so again, if Nick and Ryan wants to see, or if Nick and Ryan want to see my notes, I am more than happy to send them to you. But Edgar asked, do you believe? And then started setting things off. During the Queen Mary, they were asked again, do you believe? I believe it's Edgar asking them, do you believe now? Right? Because he's kind of seeing like they're so rattled. Ryan ran off when he heard you know what. And so he ran off. And so that's kind of Edgar being like, so now you believe? Now you believe that we exist? Now you believe that we are here? And I think it's crazy, 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 crazy. Then in the Missouri State Penitentiary, this is another one of their videos where I'm like, this is a demonic entity. And I even wrote in my notes, like, the ghosts in my house are starting to get rattled. The ghosts in my house are starting to get activated. Usually the ghosts in my house, like I said previously, they don't do anything. They just kind of exist there. I'll sometimes see them out of the corner of my eye, or sometimes when I'm walking down the stairs, I'll feel them. If I like walk down the stairs a little bit funny, they'll hold onto me to kind of protect me from falling, right? And so they're super, super nice. They don't cause any sort of issues. There was one point where there was a spirit in my house who's kind of mean, but they left. I told them, you either leave or I make you leave, and they left, right? But when I started watching not only the Queen Mary, but also the Missouri State Penitentiary and the Sally House, spirits in my house started getting really rattled. And I started seeing them. For example, I was watching the Sally House video in my kitchen, and I was sitting kind of exactly how I'm sitting right now, where I had my computer in front of me. My back was to the rest of the kitchen. And one of the spirits came running behind me, and I heard not only the footsteps, but also them kind of bumping the refrigerator, because my kitchen is kind of small, so they bumped against the refrigerator, and I turned around, and also there's a spirit in the living room, and I saw that spirit out of the corner of my eye. And I kept seeing that spirit out of the corner of my eye as I watched Missouri State Penitentiary and Sally House. These two videos are the videos that where I believe that not only something could have come through the screen for a viewer at home, because the protections are not there. Like when they upload the video as is, kind of. Of course, there's a lot of editing going into it, but as they're editing, they're not also cleansing and putting up that intention of like whatever we captured on camera has to stay on camera, right? A lot of the times, demonic entities like to mess with people's minds. And the way that you can prevent that is by putting up protections and kind of, cleansing the space where you're editing, cleansing your equipment before you leave that location, cleansing the equipment before you get home. Maybe in the hotel, you can cleanse that equipment, cleanse the SD cards, say like whatever we captured, you have to stay in your location. You cannot come anywhere else, right? But I say that to further emphasize my point that I don't think Toby was ever a demonic entity. And again, this is no hate to the owners. These are my opinions. If you guys want to go to Hill House, be my guest, go to Hill House, right? Give them a chance. But I personally, as a medium, believe that Toby was never a demonic entity. And I think if there is a demonic entity at the Hill House, it was invited in by someone. Now, again, if it wasn't invited in by the owners, then the owners need to have better protections, because those demonic entities can impact the owners as well, even if they were invited in by someone else. Anyway, in the Missouri State Penitentiary, I feel like the demonic entity that was already following them just kind of got more powerful. And this is how we get Sally House. And this is how we get the haunting at Willwood. All of these hauntings in season 2, the Estes methods have been insane. Like, actually insane. Not only, dude, not only are, I don't know how to say this, but the demonic entity that started following them, because Nick and Ryan were so scared of Toby, this demonic entity started taking on the persona of Toby, right? So when they're doing Estes method, a lot of the times the name Toby will come through. But again, I don't believe it's Toby. Also, when they were in the cells, I almost forgot that Justin was there, because Justin was just being so uncharacteristically quiet. And he talked at one point, and I was like, wait, I thought someone else told me. That's not true. But yeah, he was just being uncharacteristically quiet, and I feel like it was just the energy of the prison and the energy that surrounds them kind of at all times being heightened. But when they're in the cells, when they're there, things don't really happen. Like the S methods are going kind of as planned, except for that one Toby name, right? It's when they get downstairs where I'm thinking Ryan is possessed during that entire last Estes method. He is not himself. He has been possessed. And this is why I'm saying, like, I think the demonic entity that attached themselves to them mostly attached themselves to Ryan. And I think because of all of that energy and because of all of that power that was surrounding them, Ryan became possessed during the entire last Estes method. And I think that was the main voice that they were hearing through the Estes methods. The stop felt to me like someone begging someone else to stop. And they kind of called it, they said it kind of sounded like someone being tortured and someone like saying, please stop torturing me, that kind of thing. And yeah, I did feel that too. But then at the Sally house, again, I write down 20 minutes, 7 seconds. Oh my God, I just saw a ghost in my kitchen. This episode and the previous one have stirred up the ghost in my house. So at the Sally house is really interesting because there's two different Sallys. There's Sally the little girl, and there's Sally the demonic entity. And sometimes the little girl will come through, right? And she'll say things like for example, 35 minutes, 25 seconds. I say, I don't think that's the Sally demon. I think that's the little girl Sally that died scared. It's like she's using the covers to hide from you. She associates all men as my killer, right? But then there's moments where Sally the demon kind of comes through and is saying things and is scaring them. But again, at 44 minutes and 18 seconds, they're doing an Estes method, and I'm sorry comes through. And this happens after they get scared. So this to me sounded like, I'm sorry for scaring you, right? That wasn't my intention. I'm sorry for scaring you. And this is what I mean. A demonic entity would not be saying, I'm sorry. This sounds to me like this is a spirit, not a demonic entity. I think this is a spirit that's following them, that's been attached to them, that's been attached to them. And then something happens at 54 minutes, 46 seconds, and I write, I've been saying it's not Toby, guys. And then at 55 minutes, 47 seconds, I write again. Honestly, I think Toby was made up by the owners. Also, why would Toby follow you after Iron Island? Because again, they were only followed after they left Iron Island Museum. I think the actual spirit that's following you is taking the name Toby because that's who you think about the most. He's the following spirit has more. So the spirit that's following them has more into Toby, right? Then I also write, every time you do the Estes, there's something saying get out. It could also be the location spirits telling your spirit to get out, but I also think it's Edgar kind of telling them, get out of here. This is an unsafe location. Like, what are you doing? And then at 59 minutes, 47 seconds, they're talking about how one of the spirits says, it kind of comes through and takes over the Estes method. And I write, I've been saying that too, but I think it's more of a stealing the show way. Like the spirit that's following you saying, move, it's my turn. They're always wanting to talk during Estes, even when there's other spirits. And again, whenever this spirit that comes through during the Estes method, whenever that spirit pushes other spirits away from talking, they always apologize. That to me tells me not only are they so much in a rush to get to the Estes method, but they're also apologetic for not only the other spirits. Like, I'm so sorry, but I really have to come through and I really have to say this message. I have to tell them this. This is very important. I have to say this, right? And then at 1 hour and 27 seconds, I write, it's telling Nick to relax. The spirit is almost making sure Nick is okay, like reassuring, I'm a friend, I won't hurt you, relax. And these are things that are said during the Estes method. I'm a friend, I won't hurt you, relax. But also another theme that is always present during the Estes method is I'm here, or he's here, or you know who I am. The you know who I am, because it's been said during the Iron Island Museum, I think it's Edgar. However, the he's here is like a hit or miss. Sometimes it's Edgar, sometimes it's the demonic entity that's haunting them. But at Wilbur, when they're doing the Estes method, they obviously have the fan. That honestly was very cute to me. It's very funny. But oh no, sorry. Okay, at the Driscoll Hotel, a spirit who is saying like he's here, and then she starts getting scared, like, really scared. I don't believe that was Edgar. I think when Edgar shows up, a lot of the spirits get really annoyed, and you'll see that when the rest of the spirits are saying, "Get out of here! Like move! Get what the fuck? What the fuck are you doing?" Right? And they're you can tell that they're annoyed whenever Edgar shows up. However, when the demonic entity shows up, they get scared. For example, at Willwood, one of the kids, Tommy, which was the name of the kid at the Iron Island Museum. And this is, dude, this is so, when I was watching them, I was gasping because I was like, what? This is so crazy. So I say 59 minutes, 44 seconds. Okay, in Iron Island, there was a little kid named Tommy. Edgar was taking care of Tommy and Richard. The let's go could be Edgar trying to get Tommy to go with him. I said before, but it feels like Edgar laments not having kids. It could be his way of adopting, kind of like he adopted Nick. Also, with Tommy saying why and go away, like he doesn't want to talk with Edgar, it has to be Tommy talking. Also interesting because he's not being pushed away like other spirits. And then immediately after that, 1 hour 25 seconds, Bella, who was one of the spirits, she during the Estes method started flirting, right? And she started saying things like 56 minutes, 2 seconds. It's giving the same vibes as MSP, Missouri State Penitentiary, where all the women came out to look at the young fellas. And then at 56 minutes, 40 seconds, I say the mood shifted from flirty to angry slash scared. So it went from flirty 56 minutes, 40 seconds to back to flirty, 1 minute, 25 seconds. And I wrote 1 minute, 1 hour, 25 seconds. Bella went back to flirting, LMFAO. She said, "Hey, Phineas, what you doing?" And that to me would not happen if the spirit that had been interrupting the Estes method had been a demonic entity. Do you know what I mean? So this to me further proves that it was Edgar. He saw Tommy kind of going around there being like, what the fuck are these people? Like, why are you talking to me? And then he saw Edgar and Edgar started talking to him and he was like, no, what the fuck? I'm not going with you. Get out of here. Right? And then Bella going back to, anyway, so what are you doing? Like, how's your day been? You know, do you want to talk about it? And then it's funny also because 1 hour 37 seconds she goes die or something like that, and so Nick, he's kind of like laughing and then his face just kind of like, oh. But I personally believe that's like Bella being like, yeah, no, so like I died here, you know, and it just, the energy feels so flirty. But then 1 hour 10 minutes 48 seconds, after that, it's between 1 hour and 10 minutes and 1 hour and 13 minutes where they say it's him. And at 1 hour 13 minutes 26 seconds, I say it's not this isn't like the evil entity that's following you. I say it's not an evil entity following you, meaning the one that's talking is not the evil entity that's following you. But then the Nick's in trouble, I feel it's Edgar being like, hey, you are in trouble. Like, what are you doing? Why are you visiting these haunted locations? I've been telling you, get out of here. Why are you using this? You're in trouble. Somebody's trying to go home in your skin, right? And that to me feels like Edgar energy. Okay, 1 minute, 14, 1 hour, 14 minutes, 22 seconds. Something interesting, super, super interesting happens where they're doing the Essence method. Nick is laying down and he has his headphones on, he has his blindfold on, and Ryan and Justin are in the other room again. And Nick is, saying words out loud, but then he whispers something, and Ryan and Justin are like, what did he just say? Right? And so I write, because at first they were thinking he said, I'm sorry. But then when, I'll explain. 1 hour, 14 minutes, 22 seconds, I write another I'm sorry, like in the Sally house. It's like this guy knows he's scary slash scaring you, so he's sorry, but he's possessing Nick to say it, so it's only directed at him. It could also be that since Nick is in a trance, his subconscious slash soul is talking to his spirit during the method. I want to know what images Nick is seeing in his head. This, like hypnosis. Dude, a demon would not be apologizing for shit. Either way, whoever is talking to Nick is talking to Nick on a soul level slash subconscious level. Those are my notes on that. And then Haunted Disco Hotel, that's when they finally decide we need to talk to a medium because something really, really weird is happening and we need to get rid of whatever is following us. And this is when you can really see the clear difference between this spirit that encounters the demonic entity that's been following them versus other spirits that encounter the non-demonic entity that is following them, the spirit, which I believe personally is Edgar, because you can see, especially when Nick is in the tub, the entity that they're contacting is very taunting, right? And this is similarly to Queen Mary, B340, where it's very taunting. It's trying to get a reaction out of you. And so it keeps saying, it's Nick. Hello, Nick. Like, you know what I mean? But then as the kind of Estes method progressed, for example, at 58 minutes, 37 seconds, there's another he's here. And it's a woman talking to them, and the energy just shifts. And instead of that kind of like apprehensive scared that we've seen with other spirits, this woman spirit that is talking through the Estes methods gets scared. So for example, at the Willwood, the spirit Bella, she got angry. She kind of got this apprehensive scared, being like, who the fuck are you? You know? But this spirit got scared. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. Like, every time Edgar comes through, some of the spirits get a little bit scared, right? They're thinking, like, who is this guy? Like, we don't know this guy. What are you doing here? But every single time they will tell the spirit that comes through, get out of here. Like, I'm trying to talk, get away, like, stop pushing me away. It's my turn to talk, right? But this time, the woman is kind of like, oh, I didn't know that you, kind of like that she's still obviously apprehensive, but she's more scared than anything. And again, at 1 hour exactly, I wrote, "Oh my God, the are you sure?" Dude, it's a couple of different spirit here. There's one that Anna is really, really scared of, and then there's another spirit also coming through saying like, "Are you sure that's who's following you?" Because at one point, Brian says, "Wilhelm, is this you?" Right? We figured you out. And so at 1 hour, the spirit that's talking through the yes method says, "Are you sure?" And I write, usually it would be taunting, but this didn't feel taunting. And so it does feel like two of the spirits that are following them came through. And then 1 hour, 1 minute, 59 seconds, I write, there's two different spirits following you. One is Edgar 100%, and the other was attached more recently. It's evil, and that's what all the spirits are afraid of. I think that's why Edgar has had a theme of rushing to the Essence Method and pushing other spirits away to warn you he is here. Edgar is attached to Nick. He sees Nick as one of the boys he took care of. The other evil spirit has attached itself to Ryan. It could be Wilhelm, but I don't know for sure. It is interesting that things started up when Ryan mentioned his name and Nick got chills. And then at 1 hour, 5 minutes, 59 seconds, there's a shift that happens. Ryan is in the closet, he's doing the SS method, and Nick is the one that's asking questions, right? So then at 1 hour, 6 minutes, 7 seconds, Justin says, look out the window, and Ryan slash the spirit says, do it, and then says, leave, like implying you should jump to your death, right? And then 1 hour, 6 minutes, 25 seconds, I write, you are looking at darkness, and Ryan says, darkness. So whoever the spirit's talking can see. So my opinion is that it's definitely not Toby. I don't know why everyone keeps saying that it's Toby. Ever since, like I said, ever since I started watching, but like I said at the beginning, ever since I watched these videos for the first time, I always got the sense that it was Edgar. And you can see me commenting, like, guys, the spirit that's following you is the one from Iron Island. But because everyone kept saying that it was Toby, I kind of thought, oh, the spirit that they encountered at Iron Island must be named Toby. It wasn't until I rewatched that I realized that spirit is not named Toby, it's named Edgar. And in the most recent Driscoll Hotel, right before I decided to rewatch, I write a comment saying, the spirit kind of wants you to free him because he's very sad about not having kids and he's kind of and it goes hand in hand with what's happening in the Iron Island Museum where Edgar starts saying like I'm free, I'm gonna free myself, that kind of thing, where he just wants to be free. He probably was tired of one, not having a family, two, being treated as a hostile spirit, and three, being in the same location for the rest of all eternity, right? So he looked at Nick as someone that he could not only protect, but he could also follow and get like a change of scenery. It's really weird because Edgar acts more as like a spirit guide than he does as a ghost. And I think that's really sweet. But I think Edgar knows that he needs to be freed, and I think Edgar knows that he needs to be unattached from Nick. I think he saw Nick as his way of escape, right? And so they probably already went to a medium, but I think they really need to go to a medium and ask, like, can you free Edgar? Because, like I said, in the comment section of Overnight in the Haunted Driscoll Hotel, Edgar really wants to be free. He doesn't want to roam around as a spirit anymore. He feels like he has completed his mission. He feels like because okay, I drew a graph that I can also send to Nick and Ryan if they watch this video by some miracle and decide, yeah, we want the notes to be sent to you. I can also send that graph. But basically, what happens when you have a soul is you have the main soul, and then as the soul lives through lives, right, there's certain past lives that are really traumatic and that are really impactful to the soul. So then the soul will split up, go to these lives, live these lives. Then when those lives end, a small part stays behind. And that's how you get spirits that are reliving whatever it was that they were going through. But then that's also how you get, if a bigger part of that soul stays behind, that's how you get sentient ghosts, right? So that's how you get ghosts who will talk with you, talk through the Estes method. And so Edgar was one of these spirits, but because he was kind of forgotten about, left behind, he stayed because he was protecting these two other kids, these two other souls who were left behind as well, and who needed someone to kind of look after them, because there's also the anomaly in the hotel, or sorry, in the Iron Island Museum. There's also an anomaly that people think is demonic. And so he stayed behind as kind of like a protector of not only the kids, but also a protector of Iron Island itself. But it came to a point where he was being recognized, but he was not being recognized for what he was doing. He was being recognized for being angry and being mean. And so he kind of attached himself to Nick to try and get a different, not only a different reputation, but also to get people to see him. And I want to bet that Nick has had dreams of Edgar. And I think once a spirit gets recognized, even to a small scale, but gets recognized enough that the person starts dreaming about them, that's when they can say, okay, I'm no longer forgotten, right? And that's kind of what Edgar has said. Like, I'm no longer forgotten because you can dream about me. I can talk to you and you will dream about me. And so my mission here is done. I can leave. I can go return back to the main soul. Like my fragment that's living here on Earth can just return back to that big soul that I left. And I'm getting kind of like emotional talking about this because yeah, this is, I think when you go to that medium, if Nick and Ryan are watching this, I think when you go to that medium, you have to ask that that medium frees Edgar and kind of gives Edgar a second chance to talk, or sorry, a second chance to live. I've had a couple of past lives where my soul has kind of stayed behind, or part of my soul, right, that fragment has stayed behind. And I've always felt empty. But I feel like once those fragments return to the soul, you won't feel empty anymore, right? So if the bigger soul that Edgar was from chose to reincarnate and chose to live another life, that life probably feels empty. And by you saying, okay, you can return, you can leave us, you have completed your mission, you have been recognized. You have been recognized, right? You give that life more opportunity to stop feeling so empty. Stop feeling like you're missing a part of yourself. And yeah, so I think if Nick and Ryan do happen to see this, I think it's very important that they talk to the medium and they tell the medium, like, hey, can you make sure that Edgar is freed? Because again, this is like, I feel 100% Edgar has been following them. Obviously, they have other spirits that are also following them, but I think Edgar is 100% one of the spirits that is following them. So at the beginning of the notes, I wrote, Nick is either more open, a medium, or someone ghosts can trust or feel close to, or he's less protected. Now, as I finished watching everything, I feel like Nick is someone ghosts can trust and feel close to. It's kind of like me. I kind of see Nick as kind of like what my situation is, where spirits just come to me and they will tell me whatever it is they need to tell me, right? Because they see me as not only someone who can dream about them, listen to them, and be kind of like a shoulder to cry on kind of thing. But they also know that I'm not going to really like make fun of them. Sometimes what spirits need is just someone that listens to them, right? Like I said, with Edgar, all he really needs is someone to recognize him. And again, I don't know for sure, but I can almost guarantee you that Nick is dreaming about Edgar. And just by that simple fact, Edgar's like, okay, I have been recognized. Like, I don't need to stay here. I don't need to scare anyone else. I don't need to, do what I've been doing. He's dreaming about me. He's listening to my story. He's listening to my kind of solitude, and that's enough for me, right? But I also wrote, I feel like Ryan has Mexican question mark ancestors that are protecting him someone. I know Ryan is Latino. I wouldn't say Latino, but I don't know if he's Mexican. I don't know, what he is. I do know that he speaks Spanish or his family speaks. I'm not trying to throw shade at Ryan, but I know his family speaks Spanish. And so I feel like those are the ancestors that are kind of protecting him. But again, you can't just rely on your ancestors and spirit guides protecting you. You have to put up protections yourself. And then I wrote, Justin is either the most protected or the most ignored. Justin to me is kind of like Shane Madej, where if he just goes around and kind of like, la la la, I'm filming this, I'm participating in the ghost hunting, but I don't really believe that ghosts exist. Ghosts will generally leave him alone because if he dreams about a ghost, he's gonna dismiss it. If he dreams about, or if he experiences like EVP, or if he, experiences some kind of haunting, he's going to dismiss it. He's going to think, I think it's just the house settling. I think it's just, whatever. But it's when he gets scared, it's when he experiences something and he gets scared that the spirits kind of come at him. This happened in the St. Augustine Lighthouse where and I didn't talk about the St. Augustine Lighthouse because I really feel like they didn't put in their usual effort in St. Augustine Lighthouse. And so a lot of the EVPs and stuff that we were hearing were just from the spirits at that location. So we didn't get a lot of like the spirits that are following them. We didn't get that kind of stuff. But I feel like you can really see Justin's kind of protection coming through. Let's see, where is it? Right after. Okay, what the heck? Okay, inside America's most haunted lighthouse, St. Augustine. There's a lot of, and this is kind of what makes it difficult because there's a lot of echoes that are going on, and a lot of the EVPs that they're capturing, I feel, are just echoes. So I write, Nick is getting more EVPs slash sounds. Could be because he's more open. It could also be because he's hated, but I kind of doubt that. And then 48 minutes, 35 seconds. I think because Justin is more chill and almost nonchalant, it's a hit or miss whether he'll get evidence. I think here he got his first EVP, clear AF by the way, because he had that Tom Hanks jump scare, so that jolt of energy helped the spirit talk. And yeah, that's kind of, it tends to happen. So that's kind of why what I mean by Justin is either the most protected or the most ignored. And by the most ignored, I mean like most ignored by spirits, because he's kind of like he himself has said like I'm really skeptical, you know. I'm editing these videos, but I kind of just don't really believe. I'm not only an atheist, but I also don't believe in ghosts. But like I said, when he's in the halfway point of the lighthouse, and he turns around, he sees the kind of he calls it Tom Hanks from the Polar Express, but it's just a cutout of the sailor slash lighthouse keeper. And so he turns around, he sees it, and he gets scared. And that jolt of energy is enough for spirits to kind of like take that and manifest themselves in whatever way they are able to. In this case, an EVP. So because he's kind of going through all of the locations with this kind of like, oh yeah, whatever, like, I don't really get scared. When he's been left alone, instead of getting scared, he'll just talk to himself. And that has helped him be kind of ignored by the spirits because when the spirits kind of go to someone like that trying to get their attention and the spirits see, oh, this person is just like talking, they're not paying attention to me, talking to themselves, I'm going to move on. And so that's kind of why I haven't said anything about Justin in terms of who's following him, because the only time he really gets scared is when the other guys get scared, right? And even then he's not like scared to the point where a spirit could manifest themselves. But yeah, so these are my thoughts on everything. I did want to do a bit of a tarot reading, but I do have a lot of people watch me, so I don't know if I don't also okay, whatever. I'm going to do a bit of a tarot reading because I really want to know kind of what's going on. Okay, so whenever I do tarot readings, I have a question that I'm asking in my head. And in this case, the first question was kind of like what's going on with Nick, Ryan, and Justin? Like who's following them? Nothing came out. Then I switched the question to, hey Edgar, could you tell me kind of what's going on with you? Right? And it's basically just what I said about Edgar. It's so the Hermit came out, Knight of Swords, and Page of Cups. So what this tells me is that when so he was kind of like a loner kind of person, right? He didn't really have a lot of people in his life. He didn't really have, like I said, he didn't have kids, he didn't have pets, he didn't have family. When he died, no one came to pick up his ashes. This, to me, the Knight of Swords is telling me that during his life, he became someone to go out there and get whatever he wanted, that kind of thing, like that kind of energy of like, I'm just going to go at it and I'm going to achieve my dreams and I'm going to complete this. But then when he died, he saw it as like, now I have to start all over. Now I feel like that child who didn't really know what they wanted to do. And that's represented in the page of cups. And so he grew really attached to the kids, right? Because he kind of saw himself as a kid. He saw his death and saw his kind of loneliness in death as what he was living through before death. So it kind of repeated. Do you know what I mean? The cycle, yeah. um Cycle was just repeating. It was infinity. That's like he saw this as just like, I'm just going to have to repeat this over and over and over and over and over again until Nick came through. And I have a feeling that Edgar talked to some of Nick's spirit guides because everyone has a spirit guide or two. And so I have a feeling that Edgar talked to one of Nick's spirit guides and said, hey, like, what's going on with this dude? Right? And the spirit guide was kind of telling him, oh, yeah, like, this is what kind of, wow, Nick, your spirit guide really just spilled the tea on you. The spirit guide was kind of like, yeah, so Nick has like medium tendencies, like you can trust him. He's going to get you to the right place. I can see that you're a lost soul. And so he took that leap of faith. The Knight of Swords represents a brave knight who goes into battle without giving it a second thought. He's at the front lines and he's racing because he not only has something to fight for and is passionate about fighting for that, but also because that's just his nature. He doesn't think about the consequences really. And that's reflected in how Edgar lived his life, right? He kind of joined the military. I don't know, I haven't researched Edgar, but I feel like if you were to research Edgar, some reports you could find, well, I actually don't know if you could find, but if you could find reports on Edgar, they would say like he was heroic. Not just because he was a Marine, but because he was on the front line. He was the one who didn't really care if he died. Because again, he was a loner. That's what the hermit represents. He was a loner in his life. So he didn't really have anyone to go back home to. So that's why he was the Knight of Swords. But the Knight of Swords, when you are the Knight of Swords, you disregard kind of the consequences. Do you know what I mean? And so when he heard from Nick's spirit guide, like, he can help you, he took that. He didn't really think, oh no, but like, what if he doesn't help me? He took that. He took that opportunity and he said, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to change. The Page of Cups is interesting. I just checked the bottom of my deck and I get the Page of Wands. Both the Page of Wands and the Page of Cups are kind of childish energies. The Page of Cups, though, is childish with emotion. The Page of Wands is more of a creative type. And I think this represents Edgar, Page of Cups, transforming into the Page of Wands. Like it was still a new experience to him, but he decided, I'm going to be different. I'm going to change what I'm going through right now. Because you also have to understand spirits have sentience. Do you know what I mean? They're not just living through life and not thinking anything about it unless that's the kind of spirit that they are. But in that case, we call them more of like an imprint rather than a spirit. But spirits have sentience. They are able to, that's how they're able to interact with Estes methods, spirit boxes, etc. Because they can see what we are seeing. They can live kind of, they're on a different plane. We can't see them, but they can see us and they can see what we're going through. And so that's kind of what I mean by like he wanted to change because he knew he was stuck in a cycle on a spirit level. He knew he was stuck in a cycle. So he wanted to change. And as soon as he saw the opportunity, he took it. So Edgar has a lot to say. But yeah, I really feel like Nick has a choice. He can either accept Edgar as a spirit guide, in which case the dynamic would kind of change, or he can choose to free Edgar. And that's up to Nick, right? If he doesn't want a spirit to be his spirit guide, then he can choose to free Edgar. But if he starts to get more into the spiritual side of things, I know Nick has always been spiritual because in his older videos, like he's more of a believer and he's always been more of a believer than Ryan, I want to say. And so, okay, I just opened the deck up to just random and I got Four of Swords and I got the Star. Is Nick an Aquarius? But so the Four Swords shows that Nick really has a tough decision to make. And if he starts to really get on this like spiritual journey, I'm kind of hearing wait until you learn more about your spirituality. Wait until you talk to your spirit guides. Wait until you know more before making a decision. But you have a decision to make here, and it's you can either tell Edgar, like, you have to leave, you have to go, or you can tell Edgar, you can stay and you can be my spirit guide. But again, wait until you learn more about what role your spirit guides have in your life and how they've been protecting you up until this point. If you really, really are comfortable with the spirit guides that you have right now, then you can tell Edgar, you know what, you have to leave. Edgar is fine either way. He's fine. Like I said, he does want to leave, but some of your spirit guides are kind of coming through and being like, no, but like we can take him in. It's fine, right? But that's where I'm getting the like, just wait until you learn more. Wait until you are able to hear from your spirit guides. Wait until you know who your spirit guides are before making the decision of either telling Edgar you have to leave or you can stay here, right? But yeah, so that is the tarot reading for Nick. And I'm getting called to do a tarot reading for Ryan. So that's what I'm going to do. So, okay, I asked Ryan's spirit guides to come through because I guess they like sensed that I was doing readings, but basically, they're telling me if Ryan wants to start on his spiritual journey, his spirit guides are kind of, I don't want to say in charge of his intuition, but they're there to like kind of help him make creative decisions. A lot of wands and pentacles came out. So this tells me obviously your creative endeavors are tied to your money. And so Ryan's spirit guides are just coming through and saying, yeah, like we're doing that. So if you've ever dreamed of an idea, like for a YouTube video, that's your spirit guides basically coming through and being like, yeah, that's us. We're telling you kind of what's going to get you money, basically. Sounds really bad to say, but yeah, that's all they have to say. So I'm going to put the deck away. I don't want to like do a reading for them, not only without their consent, but also on a YouTube video where other people are going to be watching. Like I don't want to do that, and so I don't want to say more. But definitely I do recommend for both of you, since you guys are the most spiritual of the group, to go to a medium, get some tarot readings done, get some, just get someone to tell you and help you navigate this spiritual world and then proceed to go on more ghost hunts. Until then, don't be going on ghost hunts until you've talked to a medium and really, really have understood what it means to ghost hunt and what it means to go to these locations without protections and what it means to you guys, right? And how you can go forward in doing these ghost hunts safely. Not only safely for yourselves, but also safely for your viewers. Because, like I said, a lot of the times when Nick and Ryan go to a demonic or a location with a demonic entity, I can feel right? And the ghosts in my house feel that. And so I think it's important for you to really ask a medium, like, hey, how can we best protect not only ourselves, but also our viewers? So that is all for me today. I was going to film another podcast episode, but I'm running out of time. I only have 2 hours here, where I've only been allowed to be here 2 hours, so I do have to go. But let me know what you guys think. I know some people have said, like, yeah, I don't think it's Toby either. Like, I think it's just really funny how people's memories, and this isn't to throw shade at anybody that's watching Nick and Ryan, but it's really funny how people's memories are kind of not good. Because what do you mean you were in the comments of that Hill House video commenting, this is owner intervention, I don't believe that anything was ever haunting you guys, like blah blah blah, and then proceed on to the next video. Like I know they upload 1 month apart, but still, like if you believe that Hill House was fake and that the hauntings are fake, why would you then say it's Toby haunting you guys, right? Because Toby is part of the Hill House. And if the Hill House and all of the ghosts in the Hill House are fake and they're not actually there, that means Toby is not actually there either. Do you know what I mean? Regardless, let me know what you guys think. And I will see you guys in on Friday when I upload my podcast episode and every other Friday after that. But yeah, like I said, this is an emergency upload. I wasn't going to upload any other like videos until I did my Call of Duty mobile part two. Guys, I saw Nick and Ryan needed help, and so I'm here helping them. But to Nick and Ryan, if you are watching this, I hope this helped. I hope you are able to get some kind of clarity on your situation, and I hope that this doesn't come too late. Like, I hope you haven't gone to a medium because if you have, that's kind of I don't know what the other medium would have told you, but this is kind of what I have seen. But and so I hope it helps you, and I hope it's not useless. You know what I mean? It's like if the other medium has already told you, like, yeah, it's Edgar, the one that's haunting you, like Toby's not a thing, then you already know Toby's not a thing. To the owners of Hill House, I hope you don't sue me. These are my opinions only. And to anyone watching this video, don't go to like Hill House's website, don't go to the owners, don't go to Hill House itself and start harassing the owners because, like I said, maybe the owners don't know that people are inviting spirits to their house. You know what I mean? I do think I do think it's shitty practice to advertise your most heartbreaking case and kind of make a joke out of it. I do think that's very shitty. And I wrote it in my notes. I was like, dude, this is so like, why would you do this? But for the most part, don't go harassing the Hill House owners. They're just trying to make money. I actually don't know if you have to pay to go to the Hill House, but yeah, don't harass them. I'm just a person on the internet sharing my opinions. You don't need to harass anyone because of it, and I hope you don't. But anyway, I'm going to go and yeah, so let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys this Friday. Bye.